You're listening to Following On with me, Neil Manthorp, alongside former England fast bowler Steve Harmison. And if you've missed any of the show or you wish to catch up, you can download the podcast from the Following On feed, as always, available via the free talkSPORT app or wherever you get your podcasts. Right then, let's turn our attention back to the Zimbabwe Test match, which kicks off England's six-match Test summer. We're joined by former Zimbabwe fast bowler Ed Rainsford, played 39 ODIs, better known as a commentator these days, but I always like to remind people he did take 242 first-class wickets at an average of 20. He was a very fine cricketer in his day, but he's a very fine commentator now as well. And he'll be part of the talkSPORT team, bringing you that Zimbabwe Test match, ball by ball, for a global audience beginning on Thursday. Ed, great to have you with us. I know you've just landed. Flight overnight at the sharp end of the plane.
Hello, Manus.
Hello, Ed. Ed, so Zimbabwe's warm-up game, really interesting. I found it fascinating. I mean, it was a team of very young team, professional county club select 11, catchy name. But I mean, 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds. Zimbabwe lost the game by 138 runs, couldn't bat out the final 5 hours on day four. But I don't know, miles in the legs, runs and wickets. The result aside, it looked like a pretty good workout.
Yeah, it did, Manus. I think that's what they tried to do, try and get some miles in the legs, try and get their feet underneath the desk, try and get an understanding of conditions. I know Grace Road can get very, very flat when it really wants to. So they've also, their bowlers had to sort of put in some hard yards. What was interesting about that 11 as well is that Raza didn't play, but he's in the test squad. And I thought maybe he would be able to get out there and maybe get a bat. I know there's sort of some changes with him and the PSL and coming out of Pakistan and then going to Dubai and then coming through to this test match. But it was interesting that he didn't play. It also interesting that Muzarabani didn't get a full workout, but it was more about perhaps, like you say, acclimatizing, getting used to the conditions. And you're right. Those young players in the county setup, all starting their own careers, came out and really challenged the Zimbabwean side.
Ed, it's the first Test match in England since 2003. How are people in Zimbabwe feeling about this? Because, I mean, we just spoke before the show there, and Zimbabwe playing a lot of Test cricket this year.
Yeah, hi, Hami. How are you? Mate, everyone is so excited. Yesterday, I had to drop my daughter off to get onto a bus. She's going away for a week on a school trip. Almost every parent sort of just came up to me and was like, "Oh, we're so excited. Are you going over?" I said, "Yes, I'm going over. We can't wait to watch. We can't wait to see how the lads go." I mean, if you go onto social media, from the Zimbabwe Twitter account or the X account or whoever, sort of the journalists as well, everybody is so excited to have this test match happen. I think from the administrative side as well, from the playing side, from the ex-players, I understand that some of the ex-players that are in and around England are also trying to make their way to Nottingham to make their presence felt as well. So it's a really important one, but a really exciting one for Zimbabwe.
Is there apprehension that the team will be able to live up to the occasion, Ed? I mean, it's been 20 years of Test cricket struggle. I mean, a voluntary stepping aside from Test cricket for 5 or 6 years. And now it seems finally the rest of the cricket playing world is once again beginning to embrace Zimbabwe. I mean, there's 11 Test matches this year. I think that's more than you've had in the last decade.
Yeah, I mean, again, credit to the administration that's been able, and they'll be hosting most of them at home. So it's not the cheapest thing to do to host Test matches, but they've decided to do that, and they want Test cricket to be a real cornerstone of their year this year and their cricketing season. But yeah, the apprehension is there to some degree, but I think it's more excitement. They really want to get onto the field. They really want to come out here and sort of create a little bit of history as well. And so important that the door has been open for Zimbabwe to play against England, hopefully against Australia. I know they'll have South Africa after South Africa play the World Test Championship final against Australia. They got 2 Test matches at home against them and then New Zealand. But they'll really want to focus on this and they really want to do well. I know it's going to be a tough ask. It's a 4-day test. I've been following a little bit of what Ben Stokes has been speaking about, and he's saying, I will give them the respect they deserve, but it's also a summer of cricket where they kick off their test summer and then go into India, so they'll be trying to get their ducks in a row. So Zimbabwe possibly want to just stay in the moment, I think, and try and really sort of give everybody that little bit of excitement and try and elongate the game.
Yeah, you've mentioned it about what it means to the people of Zimbabwe and where Zimbabwe are trying to get to over the course of this next 12 months with Test cricket. But they'll also want to win. And how do they do that?
Yeah. Ooh, like I said, they've got to try and sort of elongate the game. They once they get onto that field, they sort of got to try and get rid of that anxiety, that nervousness that will obviously be there, and don't let the occasion get too big too quickly. Because if you do that with the home side, with a very dangerous batting lineup, it can get away from you very, very quickly. So they're going to try and maybe get into a little bit of a holding pattern, try and stem the run flow, because if England do bat first, and whenever they do bat, they're going to be batting at a rate. So try and pick up wickets as much as they can through that period, and try and peg England back, and then sort of, try and stun their bowlers, try and build an innings, try and maybe make England make the play, rather than them maybe getting pushed into a corner. Ask England to make the play, and possibly the door could be left open.
Got to play to your strengths, haven't you? I mean, Blessing Muzarabani, you said, didn't have that much of a workout, but he's just been signed by the Royal Challengers Bengaluru, I think, in the IPL. He's a key man. I mean, if he, it's all 6'8" of him. I wanted to ask you about him and the rest of the bowlers, but also England will bully Zimbabwe. If they get on top, they won't, they won't back off. They'll bully. Who are the figures who'll give a bit back? Who'll stand up for Zimbabwe and can give a bit of confrontation back?
All of them. They've all got a little bit of vinegar. They've all got a little bit about them. They've got a bit of spice, and I think they'll all try and sort of stand up. Sean Williams will be front and center. Welsh will be in there. Ben Curran will be in there. All of them have this fighting ability. But like I said, it's about that occasion. When you step over the rope, don't let the occasion overraw you. I think that is the main thing. Keep your emotions and everything that's around you in check. Just touching on Blessing Muzarabani, I did mention he was signed before he went to Bangladesh, and then decided to go play those 2 Test matches. And I must remind you, Andy Flower is the head coach of Bangalore, and he seems to pick up Blessing Muzarabani wherever he goes, whether it's in the PSL, whether it's in the CPL, or whether it's now in the IPL. So they think highly of him, and I think if he has a good Test match as well, it could help Zimbabwe.
Gary Balance is part of the coaching team. I knew Gary from when he was at Yorkshire as a young lad. We all know the circumstances to why he sort of finished his career and went back to Zimbabwe. But how important is it that Gary's knowledge of playing Test cricket in England and just cricket in general in this country to pass on to try and help, like you said, the acclimatization point of view?
I think firstly, there's a great deal of respect there for Gary Balance, having played for England, did well for England. Obviously, he had his challenges, then went back to Zimbabwe, qualified, started off, and then sort of walked away from the game. And he's been in and around all these players, throwing a lot of balls in the players' ears, and he has a lot to offer. And I think it was a great move by Zimbabwe cricket to rope him in, to try and bring that little bit of knowledge, also a little bit of calm, and also consult around the team and how they can go about playing against this England side and also in the England conditions. And I think it was a fabulous move. And it also, for me, it sort of resonates perhaps where Zimbabwe cricket go to from a transition point of view, and where they could see Gary Balance being part of their coaching side, or being a consultant, or adding more value in the backroom side of things. Because definitely, I've spoken to him. He wants to put his hand up, and he has a really good cricket mind, I think, and he understands these conditions. And I think he'll be an important part. I also be interested to see how he handles the occasion, having played for England, played for Zimbabwe, and also had some challenges in between there. So it'll be interesting to see how he manages that as well.
How do you feel personally? I mean, you made your debut as a Well, you're fresh out of school. I mean, Zimbabwe cricket was in a crisis then. It's been in a perpetual crisis for 20 years. You've now made a name for yourself as an established commentator. You've commentated around the world, but not in England. So how do you feel?
Oh, I tell you what, Manners, it's a bucket list. You know this, and I can be extremely honest with everybody and yourself. And I said this to you probably 2 months ago. I said, Manners, if there's anything I could do in my cricketing career or my commentary side of things, is to commentate on a game of cricket in England. And how perfect is it that it's against Zimbabwe and the home side, England, in Nottingham. And it's an absolute privilege. I'll be nervous as well, Manners. You're going to have to hold my hand, my sweaty palms, as I try and get my words out. But it's an absolute privilege, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity, and I actually can't wait.
Harmy, just finally, your memories of the 2003 Test against Zimbabwe, the last time they were in England?
I remember devastated when Michael Vaughan lost the toss and Streaky opened the bowling at Chesley Street. The first ball of the Test match at my home ground. I mean, it was freezing cold that day. But no, it was always a challenge. I did an air tour in 2000. I think it was 99 to Zimbabwe, and it was a wonderful country there before obviously the trouble started. And that was a great team. Michael Vaughan's team was led then, but it was always a challenge. And like Ed said there, whether it comes to sort of playing abilities, both bat and ball, might be one thing on where England are and Zimbabwe are, but whenever you played against Zimbabweans, they never give you an inch from a fighting point of view. And that is something that they're going to need at Trent Bridge. And that's what they had in the likes of the two Flower brothers, Alistair Campbell, obviously the great man Heath Streak, what a legend of a bowler and a person he was. So they were all in and around that group in 2003 when I played. And it was always a fight. I mean, it was always a fight and a challenge. And yeah, you might have more ability than them, but them as a group, togetherness was always something that stuck out back then. And I think over the course of these next 11 Test matches, I think they're going to need that to get themselves a foothold back into Test cricket.
Ed Rainsford, I know you've got a couple of days in London before you go up to Nottingham. Get your running shoes on and get rid of those flying cobwebs with a run along the banks of the Thames, mate.
I always bring them with me, and my bowling boots, just in case someone gets injured.
I've normally got mine, but I'm still in the wrapper from the last 10 years.
Ed Rainsford, thank you so much for your time. What a pleasure, and we'll have a great Test match.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
Fast bowler Ed Rainsford. And a reminder, you can hear live ball-by-ball commentary of England against Zimbabwe for overseas listeners on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. You're listening to Following On with me, Neil Manthorp, alongside Durham Hall of Famer Steve Harmison. Next up, we'll round up some of the week's other stories and bring you the final word.